The return. The Galactic Assembly's Grand Chamber had never felt so small. Ambassador Xelthra of the Auroran Collective watched through compound eyes as emergency alerts cascaded across the crystalline displays. After 3 decades of exile, humanity had returned to known space, not with diplomatic vessels or trade ships, but with the TSS Vindicator, the most advanced warship ever witnessed in the galaxy. They're moving through the Orion Arm. First Speaker Naztul announced, their bioluminescent patches pulsing with anxiety. The ship's energy signature. It's unlike anything in our database. Xelthra's antennae twitched as she processed the information. 30 years ago, she had been a junior diplomat when the Assembly voted to exile humanity from galactic society. The humans had been deemed too unpredictable, too dangerous, after the Perseus incident. Now, seeing the readings from the Vindicator, she wondered if they had merely pushed humanity to become exactly what they had feared. The vessel's design defied conventional wisdom. Where galactic standard ships bore the elegant curves and crystalline structures that channeled zero-point energy, the Vindicator was angular, aggressive, and impossibly dense with technology. Its hull absorbed scanning beams instead of reflecting them, and its propulsion system appeared to bend space-time in ways that shouldn't be possible with known physics. They're broadcasting, announced Technarch Verlon, their mechanical appendages interfacing directly with the chamber's communications array. The message was text-only, transmitted in perfect galactic standard. To the Galactic Assembly, your barriers have fallen. Your exclusion zones have failed. We have mastered the physics you thought impossible and navigated the spaces between spaces. We come not for revenge, but for recognition. Humanity claims its place among the stars, not as supplicants, but as equals. Prepare to receive our ambassador. Resistance is neither expected nor necessary. The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had evolved as predators and prey found themselves unified in their unease. The humans hadn't just survived their exile. They had thrived in it. Xelthra moved to address the assembly, her crystalline translator converting her chemical signals into speech. Honored members, we must consider our position carefully. Humanity's return was inevitable. We merely accelerated their development by forcing them to overcome our barriers. First Speaker Nastul's bioluminescence shifted to patterns of disapproval. They were exiled for good reason, Ambassador. The Perseus incident was a misunderstanding. Xelthra interrupted, breaking centuries of protocol. I spent my career studying the records. We judged them by our standards, feared them for their differences, and punished them for our own ignorance. The Vindicator's presence in orbit cast a metaphorical shadow over the proceedings. Its very existence proved humanity had mastered technologies the Assembly had deemed impossible. They had taken principles of physics considered immutable and found the exceptions, the loopholes, the spaces between established rules where new possibilities lurked. They're launching a shuttle, Technarch Verlon announced. The small craft that descended toward the Assembly's floating city platform bore the same impossible properties as its mothership. It moved with precise control through the atmosphere, its hull seeming to drink in the light around it. Xelthra felt the weight of history pressing down on her exoskeleton. I move to receive the human ambassador, she declared. Let us not compound our past mistakes with present fear. The Assembly chamber's great doors parted. The human who entered wore no environmental suit, no protective gear, only a sleek uniform that seemed to shift colors with each movement. She was tall for her species, with dark skin and eyes that held both wisdom and warning. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of the Terran Star Federation, she announced in flawless galactic standard, her voice carrying naturally without need of translation. We have spent 30 years preparing for this moment. You tried to cage humanity. Instead, you forced us to break our own limitations. We stand before you now, not as the children you cast out, but as the adults we were forced to become. Xelthra moved forward, her translator glowing. Welcome, Ambassador Chen. The Assembly recognizes humanity's return, and she paused, choosing her words carefully. apologizes for the short-sightedness of the past. Chen's smile held no warmth. Apologies are appreciated but unnecessary. We're not here to dwell on past grievances. We're here to share what we've learned in our exile, assuming the Assembly is prepared to listen this time. The Vindicator hung in orbit above them, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. It represented not just a return from exile, but humanity's declaration that they would never again be pushed aside, never again be deemed unworthy of the stars. The galaxy had changed. The Assembly had to change with it. As Zelthra watched Ambassador Chen take her place at the speaking podium, she realized that the humans hadn't just survived their exile. They had used it to rewrite the rules of what was possible. Now, the galaxy would have to adapt to their presence, their innovations, and their unwavering determination to claim their place among the stars. The age of humanity's exile was over. The age of revelation was about to begin. First Contact Redux. The Assembly's Technology Council chamber hummed with an undercurrent of nervous energy as Ambassador Chen activated her presentation interface. Instead of using the standard holographic projectors, she simply waved her hand, and the air itself seemed to crystallize into display surfaces. Quantum manipulation at room temperature, muttered Technarch Verlon, their cybernetic sensors whirring in obvious distress. Impossible. Humanity has found that impossible is often just a limitation of perspective. Chen replied, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. During our exile, we were forced to re-examine everything we thought we knew about physics. When conventional paths were blocked, we found new ones. The displays showed a series of technological achievements that humanity had developed during their 30 years of isolation. Each revelation caused more distress among the council members. Gravitational manipulation without massive energy expenditure, faster than light travel that didn't rely on established hyperlanes, computing systems that operated on principles that seemed to violate causality itself. From her observer's position, Zelthra noticed how the human ambassador carefully controlled the flow of information. Each revelation was significant enough to demonstrate humanity's advancement, but never quite enough to show the full extent of their capabilities. It was a masterful diplomatic performance. This is but a fraction of what we've achieved, Chen continued. We're prepared to share these technologies with the Assembly, but first, we need to address the underlying reason for our exile. The Perseus incident. The chamber grew silent. The Perseus incident had been the catalyst for humanity's banishment, an event that had been documented, judged, and sealed away in the Assembly's deepest archives. We didn't fully understand what happened that day, Chen said, her expression growing serious. Neither did you. But now we do. She gestured again, and new images formed in the air. They showed the Perseus research station from 30 years ago, but from angles never before seen, revealing details that had been missed in the original investigation. The quantum cascade that destroyed the station wasn't caused by human recklessness, as you concluded, Chen explained. It was the first recorded interaction with something we've spent the last 3 decades studying. Quantum predators, entities that feed on artificial quantum states. Your civilization never encountered them because your technology doesn't attract them. Ours did. Technarch Verlon's appendages twisted in agitation. Such beings cannot exist within our understanding of physics. Your understanding of physics is incomplete, Chen replied, not unkindly. During our exile, we had to develop new frameworks of understanding just to survive. The barriers you placed around Earth didn't just keep us in. They kept us focused. Every challenge became an opportunity for innovation. Zelthra watched as the human ambassador brought up another display, this one showing the TSS Vindicator's defensive systems. Our ships now incorporate quantum lures and deterrents. We learn to defend against these entities, then to communicate with them, and finally to coexist with them. What you saw as a disaster was first contact with a completely new form of life. The implications rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. If humanity was telling the truth, then their exile hadn't just pushed them to develop new technologies. It had led them to discover aspects of reality that the assembly civilizations had never imagined. "We're not here to assign blame," Chen continued, her voice softening. "We're here because the galaxy is larger and stranger than any of us knew. The quantum predators were just the beginning. There are more discoveries to be made, more challenges to face. We can face them together, or separately, but they will come regardless." The assembly members began discussing among themselves, their various communication methods creating a symphony of clicks, like patterns, and chemical signatures. Zelthra noticed how Chen waited patiently, letting them process the paradigm shift she had just introduced. Finally, first speaker Naz Tool addressed the human ambassador. "You speak of sharing technology, of cooperation, after 30 years of exile. Why should we trust that humanity harbors no desire for revenge?" Chen's smile was genuine this time. "Because revenge is inefficient. We could have returned with a fleet of ships like the Vindicator, could have demanded reparations or territories. Instead, we come with knowledge to share and a warning to give. The galaxy is changing. The quantum predators are becoming more active. We'll need each other to face what's coming." Zelthra felt her chemical receptors tingling with a mix of fear and excitement. The humans hadn't just survived their exile. They had used it to pierce the veil of reality itself. Now they offered to share what they had learned, asking only for acceptance and cooperation in return. The assembly would have to adapt quickly. Humanity wasn't asking for permission to rejoin galactic society. They were offering the assembly a chance to join them in understanding a universe that was far more complex and wonderful than anyone had imagined. As the council chamber erupted in questions and discussions, Zelthra realized that this was more than just first contact redux. It was the beginning of a new age of discovery, with humanity leading the way into unknown frontiers they had found during their years alone among the stars. The Proving Ground. The TSS Vindicator's command center hummed with activity as both human and alien specialists worked to track the quantum anomaly spreading through the Centauri sector. Ambassador Chen stood at the central display, her expression grim as she watched the swarm of quantum predators growing larger by the hour. "They've never gathered in these numbers before," she explained to Zelthra and Technarch Verilon, who had joined the human vessel as official assembly observers. "Something's driving them to congregate." Verilon's cybernetic interfaces sparked with agitation as they processed the sensor data. "The energy signature matches nothing in our records. It's as if space itself is being consumed." "Not consumed," corrected Dr. Marcus Zhang, the Vindicator's chief scientist. "Transformed. The quantum predators aren't destroying space-time. They're converting it into something else. We saw similar patterns during our exile, but never on this scale." Zelthra's chemical receptors detected traces of worry in the human crew's pheromones, but their actions remained precise and coordinated. 30 years of dealing with these entities had given them a confidence that bordered on casualness. "Captain Rivera," Chen called out, "show them what we discovered during the Proxima initiative." The ship's captain, a woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that seemed to hold starlight, nodded. With a few gesture commands, she brought up a new display showing what appeared to be a three-dimensional musical score. "The quantum predators respond to harmonic patterns in space-time," Rivera explained. "During our exile, we learned that they're not just hunting quantum states. They're following a kind of cosmic symphony. We can't stop them, but we can conduct them." Verilon's appendages twisted in confusion. "You mean to play music to space-time itself?" "In a manner of speaking," Zhang replied. "The Vindicator isn't just a warship, it's an instrument. Those weapons you detected, they're quantum resonators. We don't fight the predators. We reshape the quantum harmony of space to guide them." As if to demonstrate, Captain Rivera began activating the ship's resonator arrays. The hull thrummed with a vibration that Zelthra felt in her very atoms. The massive swarm of quantum predators responded immediately, their chaotic patterns shifting into more organized formations. "Remarkable," Zelthra transmitted through her translator. "You've turned a weapon into a tool of harmony." "Necessity," Chen said with a slight smile. When you can't overpower something, you learn to work with it. That's what our exile taught us. The universe isn't a battlefield to be conquered. It's a puzzle to be understood. The moment of appreciation was interrupted by urgent alerts. The quantum swarm had suddenly changed direction, moving with purpose toward a populated system. Helios Colony, Verlon announced, their mechanical voice carrying genuine concern. 12 million inhabitants. If those entities reach the quantum reactors, they won't, Rivera declared. She turned to her crew. Battle stations. Dr. Zhang, prepare the full resonator sequence. Ambassador Chen, we could use your diplomatic skills. We'll need to coordinate with the colony's defense forces. What followed was a demonstration of humanity's greatest strength, their ability to adapt and innovate in real time. The Vindicator moved into position between the swarm and the colony, its resonators creating complex patterns in space-time. The human crew worked seamlessly with their alien observers, incorporating Verlon's vast database of spatial harmonics and Selthra's insights into xenobiology. The swarm is responding, John reported, his fingers dancing across control surfaces that appeared and disappeared as needed. But there's something else, a deeper pattern emerging. Chen moved to study the data. These quantum predators aren't just gathering randomly. They're being drawn to something, or responding to something. Like moths to a flame, Rivera muttered, then explained the Earth metaphor to their alien guests. Whatever's calling them is more attractive than our resonators. Zelthra felt her antenna vibrating with sudden understanding. The Assembly's new quantum network, it was activated in this sector last week. Could that be what's drawing them? The humans exchanged knowing looks. History repeats itself, Chen said softly, just like the Perseus incident. Your civilization is stepping into quantum technology without understanding the predators that hunt in those depths. Then help us understand. Verlon responded, their cybernetic systems fully engaged with the Vindicator sensors. Show us what you learned in Exile. What followed was a symphony of science and cooperation. The Vindicator's crew demonstrated how to modulate quantum fields to become less attractive to the predators. They showed how certain harmonics could guide the entities away from populated areas, and how to establish safe corridors through space where quantum technology could operate without drawing attention. As the crisis passed and the swarm dispersed, following new patterns laid down by the Vindicator's resonators, Selthra observed the human crew's reactions. There was pride in their success, but also a deeper satisfaction in sharing their knowledge. This is why we came back, Chen told her quietly. Not to prove our superiority, but to prevent others from having to learn these lessons the hard way. The universe has enough natural challenges without us making new ones through ignorance or fear. The Vindicator's command center settled into a more relaxed state, but Selthra noticed that the human crew maintained their vigilance. They knew, as she was beginning to understand, that this was just the beginning. The quantum predators were growing more active, and humanity's return to galactic society had come just in time to help face this emerging threat. As she watched humans and aliens working together to analyze the data from their encounter, Selthra realized that humanity's exile had given them something invaluable, not just advanced technology or understanding of quantum predators, but a perspective that the Assembly desperately needed. They had learned to see challenges as opportunities, to turn weapons into tools, and to find harmony in the chaos of space. Breaking point. The TSS Vindicator's command center had become an impromptu war room. Holographic displays showed thousands of quantum distortions spreading across the galaxy like a viral infection. Each point represented a quantum predator. But these weren't behaving like the solitary entities humanity had encountered before. They're organizing, Ambassador Chen explained to the assembled Alliance leadership. Something is directing them, using them as weapons. The display zoomed in on the Arcturus sector, where 3 assembly worlds had already gone dark, their quantum-based technologies devoured by swarms of the entities. Zelthra's chemical receptors detected the rising fear in the chamber. How is this possible? These creatures showed no signs of collective behavior before. Because they were being contained, Captain Martinez answered, her face grim on the main screen. The quantum predators we've been studying, redirecting, and relocating. They were scouts, fragments of a larger consciousness. We didn't see it until now, because we never encountered them in these numbers. First speaker Nastfol's bioluminescence pulsed with agitation. You knew this could happen. You kept this from us. We suspected, Chen corrected. During our exile, we detected patterns in quantum space that suggested larger structures, but we never had the range to confirm our theories. We needed the assembly sensor networks, combined with our understanding of quantum physics, to see the full picture. The display shifted, showing a massive distortion at the galaxy's core. Unlike the smaller quantum predators, this entity existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its true form incomprehensible to most sensing systems. The Vindicator's quantum arrays revealed its structure, a vast, ancient intelligence that had existed in the spaces between normal space since before the first species achieved spaceflight. We call it the quantum architect, Chen continued. It's been dormant for millions of years, using its fragments, what we thought were individual predators, to monitor the development of quantum technology in the galaxy. Our experiments with quantum states during the Perseus incident woke some of its scouts. Now, 30 years later, our combined quantum technologies have roused the entire entity. Technarch Verlon's mechanical appendages twisted in agitation. Why attack now? What triggered this response? Captain Martinez manipulated the display, highlighting the pattern of attacks. It's not random. The architect is systematically dismantling our quantum infrastructure, but it's also creating something. Each disabled system becomes part of a larger pattern, a quantum web that's spreading across the galaxy. It's reorganizing reality to match its own quantum state, Chen explained. If it succeeds, our understanding of physics will become obsolete. Every technology we've built, every advancement we've made, none of it will work in the new quantum paradigm it's creating. The implications hit the assembly like a physical blow. This wasn't just an attack. It was an attempt to fundamentally change the rules of reality itself. How do we stop it? Selthra asked, her translator struggling to convey the complexity of her chemical signals. Chen's expression was grave. The architect exists in quantum states we're only beginning to understand. Conventional weapons are useless. But, she paused, sharing a look with Captain Martinez. During our exile, we developed something. The theoretical weapon that could affect quantum states across multiple dimensions simultaneously. We never built it because the power requirements were astronomical, and a miscalculation could tear apart the fabric of space-time. You want to risk the destruction of reality itself. Nastol's bioluminescence flared with alarm. We want to save it, Martinez countered. But we need the assembly's help. The Vindicator's quantum arrays aren't enough. We need every quantum-capable ship you have, working in perfect synchronization, to generate the energy field required. And if we refuse? Verlon asked. Then we watch as everything we know is rewritten by an entity that views our existence as an irritation to be corrected. Chen replied softly. Sometimes the only choice is between calculated risk and certain doom. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The assembly had exiled humanity for taking risks with quantum physics, for pushing boundaries that should have remained untouched. Now they were being asked to trust human technology and human theories in a gamble for the galaxy's survival. Zelthra moved to the center of the chamber, her chemical signals radiating determination. We feared humanity's potential for 30 years. We pushed them away because they dared to explore what we considered forbidden. And in doing so, we forced them to develop exactly the knowledge and capabilities we need now. She turned to Nastol. We must trust them, not because we want to, but because they alone understand enough about quantum physics to have a chance at saving us all. The quantum architect's influence continued to spread across the display, each new point of light representing another system falling to its reconstruction of reality. The assembly had minutes, perhaps hours, to decide. Trust the species they had exiled, risk everything on human theories and technology, or watch as an ancient quantum intelligence rewrote the fundamental laws of their universe. As the leaders of the galaxy's species looked to each other for guidance, the choice before them became clear: adapt or cease to exist in any recognizable form. The moment of breaking had arrived. Now they would discover if they were strong enough to bend instead of shatter. Unity's dawn. The combined fleet of human and assembly ships formed a perfect sphere around the TSS Vindicator, their positions calculated to quantum-level precision. At the heart of their formation, the human warship's experimental quantum resonator pulsed with barely contained energy, its glow visible across multiple dimensions. Final synchronization complete. Captain Martinez reported from the Vindicator's bridge. All ships are aligned at quantum level. Ambassador Chen, the diplomatic fleet is ready for your signal. On the command deck of the Assembly's flagship, Chen stood surrounded by the leaders of 100 species, all united by desperate necessity. The quantum architect's influence now covered a third of known space, its reality warping effects spreading exponentially. Planets touched by its power had become unrecognizable, their quantum states altered to match patterns incomprehensible to organic minds. The calculations are precise. Technarch Verilon announced, their cybernetic systems linked directly to the fleet's targeting network. But the power requirements, even with our combined fleet, were barely reaching theoretical minimums. We don't need to overpower it, Chen replied, her eyes fixed on the swirling quantum anomaly that marked the architect's core. We just need to communicate with it. Everything we've learned about quantum predators, every encounter we've had, they've all been preparing us for this moment. Zelthra's chemical receptors detected subtle changes in the human ambassador's pheromone patterns. You're not telling us everything, she realized. What aren't you sharing? Chen's smile was tight but genuine. During our exile, we didn't just study quantum physics. We studied consciousness itself, the relationship between observation and reality. The architect isn't just changing the quantum state of the galaxy. It's trying to make reality match its consciousness. We're going to show it ours instead. Before anyone could protest, Chen pressed her hand to a crystal interface. The quantum resonator aboard the Vindicator flared to life, its energy amplified and focused by the surrounding fleet. But instead of attacking the architect, the energy formed patterns, complex quantum signatures that mimicked organic neural patterns. We're not firing a weapon, Chen explained as the energy built. We're creating a bridge between consciousnesses. Every ship in this fleet carries representatives of different species, different ways of thinking and perceiving reality. Together, we're going to show the architect what organic consciousness looks like at a quantum level. The effect was immediate and stunning. The architect's expansion halted as the quantum bridge connected. Through the fleet's sensors, they could see its vast intelligence responding to their contact, its pattern language shifting as it encountered organic thought for the first time. It's beautiful, Zelthra whispered, her translator struggling to convey the complexity of her chemical response. The quantum patterns of the architect began to change, not retreating but transforming, adapting to incorporate the new information it was receiving. It never meant to destroy us, Chen revealed, her voice filled with wonder. It was trying to understand us, to make sense of the quantum noise our technologies were creating. We seemed as alien to it as it did to us. The bridge between minds strengthened. Through their combined consciousness, they shared not just thoughts but ways of thinking, perspectives that transcended species, and even the boundary between organic and quantum intelligence. The architect's reality-warping influence began to recede, not because it was being driven back, but because it was learning to coexist with organic quantum states. The affected systems are returning to normal, Verilon reported, their mechanical appendages whirring in excitement. But the quantum advances remain. It's leaving us gifts, understanding of quantum principles we never imagined. First speaker Nastol's bioluminescence pulsed with patterns of awe. We feared humanity's drive to understand the unknown. their willingness to take risks to advance their knowledge. But without those very traits, without their exile pushing them to explore forbidden concepts, we would have never achieved this moment. The quantum bridge began to stabilize, forming a permanent connection between organic space and the architect's domain. Through it, they could sense the ancient entity's satisfaction, its joy at finally achieving true communication with the organic beings whose quantum experiments had drawn its attention. This is why the human approach works, Selthray observed. Where we saw only threats to be contained, they saw opportunities to understand. Every challenge became a chance to learn, to grow, to find new ways of thinking. The combined fleet maintained its perfect formation, but now it served not as a weapon platform, but as a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of consciousness. The quantum architect, once perceived as an existential threat, had become the gateway to understanding principles of reality that neither humanity nor the assembly had fully grasped alone. The Perseus incident wasn't an ending, Chen said softly, watching as new quantum patterns danced across the sensors. It was first contact. Everything since then, our exile, our advances, this moment, it was all part of learning to understand each other. Not just humans and the assembly, but all of us and the quantum intelligence that's been watching us grow. As the crisis transformed into communion, as fear gave way to understanding, the gathered species realized that they had witnessed more than just the prevention of a catastrophe. They had seen the birth of a new age, one where the combined knowledge of organic and quantum minds would transform their understanding of reality itself. Humanity's return from exile had not just saved the galaxy. It had helped it take its first steps into a larger universe, one where consciousness itself was the key to unlocking the deepest mysteries of existence. Unity's dawn had arrived, not through force or fear, but through the very human traits of curiosity, adaptability, and the relentless drive to understand the unknown.